Good morning, love. I was told that I'm no longer allowed to sit in it, but that's alright because I was literally waiting for that call. It's not always easy to sit in those spaces and to wait through it and to sit with all of that heaviness and to be curious about it, but after being through it so many times and understanding the greater process, it does become a little bit easier. Not so much the sitting in it, but the understanding that it's part of a bigger process. And I was kind of laughing to myself because there's just so much coming through right now, and even with others who have very similar gifts and callings as me, and our paths are very much intertwined, we have this sense that like something is coming, there's something bigger that we're being called to step up into and for, and there's a lot of this like advocacy energy going around, and I'm just kind of laughing to myself because it's like this job is not easy, this calling isn't easy, and a lot of the messages that I'm getting from the collective and questions and just different things that have been coming through are really heavy things, and I'm blessed to see the world through such a spiritual lens, but that's, again, it's not an easy thing, but that's what people come to me for. And half the time, I feel so out of sorts and out of place and like I'm crazy, but the thing is, when crazy starts happening, I am the first person that people come to because they know that I live in that space, I live in that vibration, and I have such a clear about that, those greater workings, about the bigger picture and how all those little things are connected, which truly is a gift to be able to have that gift of sight and just have that spiritual lens. And I had to kind of bite my tongue a bit because I was recalling a moment that even my counterpart had said something to that effect about seeing things that through a spiritual lens, and it's just like, when you have conversations with people and you're trying to explain things, sometimes they don't understand, and you just kind of have to shrug your shoulders and be like, it's a feeling, it's a knowing, and kind of leave it at that, because not a lot of people can understand that process and all of the things that have to happen and fall into place, and just those greater workings of the process of a larger narrative, and the interconnectedness that we all play within each other's lives. And it's just a very interesting space to hold. And for whatever it's worth, I am very thankful that I have my counterpart in my space, in my realm, so that that's mirrored, that's understood, because it's a very challenging place to navigate when you have gifts like this, when you have a calling and a purpose like this, to have to sit back and let go of that control and let things happen and be misunderstood and hold that space for others and be like, I know, but I can't say anything, I just have to let it play out. And I'm sitting in just so much of that where I know things about my storyline, about other people's storyline, but I can't say or do anything until that energy comes and presents itself to me. Even in my counterpart connection, like, we both have an I know about things, and it's just like there's nothing to be done but let the storyline play out, but have these experiences, but go through it. And not a lot of people have that level of understanding and surrender when it comes to being in the story, because it takes so much presence, and presence is a scary place to be. So I hope somewhere in that you heard something that you needed to, because we are entering into the shadow period of a Mercury retrograde, and if you thought things were weird in the past few weeks, they are about to get a whole lot weirder. For those of you who feel like you have spiritual gifts, you're going to want to keep your awareness open, because there is going to be a whole lot more coming through, and you can't let doubt get in the way. You can't second guess. My biggest suggestion is just say, okay, thank you. Whether it's angel numbers, random downloads, things that you think are fantasies, they're probably not fantasies, they may be visions. Like, there's all these little things, and I've been hearing this for a minute now, especially for my divine masculine, is like they're discounting fantasies and visions that they have, thinking that they're just constructs of their mind, but they're actually visions. So be aware of that, because you are being given information, and this is going to be a really cloudy time of that as we enter into this Mercury retrograde, because the veil is super thin. We're on the spring equinox. There's just so much planetary and energetically that's going on. There's just so much. So there's a calling to relax, because like even the energy feels very anxious. It's this just kind of relax and have a level of acceptance. Be with this wave. And just be kind of on your P's and Q's when it comes to communication. Hold fast in your boundaries. Mercury retrograde is this beautiful time when, everything comes back to the cracks and the crevices. So, clean house where you need to. Just be aware that, bizarre things happen. So let's see. I'm pulling from deck 4. I was pulling a bunch of cards earlier. Well, had Caspian pull a bunch of cards earlier, and I was feeling out the different energies of the deck, and I felt very connected to 4. So we're gonna see what comes out. Take it as it resonates. My intention is, what does the collective need to know for their highest and greatest good at this time? This one came out earlier. I just want to scream, but instead I cry. So, God, there's a lot of heavy energy. Allow yourself to emote however it is that you feel you need to emote. If you need to scream, you may have to force it. That's a throat chakra blockage, probably from a lack of communication. And again, if we're entering this shadow period of a Mercury retrograde, you have to be aware that it's going to be much harder to stand up and speak your truth, to speak and say and communicate what you need to. My regrets, these were all the cards that came out earlier. My regrets have me paralyzed. So be aware of the space that regret is having. You need to come to an understanding of why you are holding on to this energy of regret. This is a clear indication of where you have acted out of alignment with yourself, or another person has, that you weren't upholding your own boundaries. And I can tell you that's a hard one to move through. I need your love. So someone out there is in need of your love, of your guidance, of who you are, and you can't discount that. Be firm and hold up your boundaries, but remember that boundaries are meant to be a gate or a fence. They're not meant to be a wall. So you can still have a healthy sense of giving and showing up for others, but please be aware of your own needs, and that is something I'm being dealt with majorly right now, is having put someone else's safety and needs above my own, and I got fucking burned. Your touch is magic. So I'm very much feeling this connected to I need your love. Someone's love language may be physical touch, and this does not have to be a sexual thing. Hugs, like just being beside someone and having, that platonic skin to skin. Like, there are so many ways to explore touch in a sense of love and giving. Holding someone's hand. Reiki, if you are attuned to Reiki, 1, 2, 3 or mastery level, use it on yourself, on others. If you need it, come to me, I'll help you out. If you want your level 1 attunement, I can do that. Your level 1 attunement, you being awakened to your own healing energy, is a divine right. Okay? So if you need that, let me know. If you know a Reiki healer, if someone's close to you, just don't underestimate the power of a simple touch, of letting someone know that you're there. Because someone is calling out for that connection with you, and that healing is a level of healing that only you can provide them, is what I'm hearing. Yeah, healing keeps coming out. I watch, read everything you post. So someone's got an eye on you, has a level of concern for you, and in a way they want to be there for you, but at this time they actually need you to be there for them, which depending on what you're going through, this might be a beautiful invitation. I know for myself, even in the grief that I'm feeling, I am being called to sit with other women, to hold space for other individuals with much of a related theme going on, because let's just take grief for example. I'm sitting through grief, but other people are sitting through grief over different things. But the thing is grief, and it holds in the body in the same way. It doesn't matter what triggers grief. Grief is the same pain, and that's the beautiful interconnectedness of being human, of having these experiences, of being in these communities and these collectives and having these relationships. It gives us this space that we get to hold for each other. And we see so many posts now about like, don't talk about it just because it's relatable. You know what? I don't believe in that. I believe that those relatable connective pieces are so important. Yes, pause, give space, let someone finish their story. You can ask them if you can share, but also do not discount your own intuitive knowing that you need to share part of your story to give someone else solace, to create a connective bond. And sometimes this may look like trauma bonding, but it's not. It's a very different space to hold that space for someone and to share your story and your experiences and your insight and your perspective and how you've moved through it, versus trauma bonding, which is a very toxic, chaotic cycle. It's a very different energy, though it can mirror each other in, sharing those experiences. But bonding over trauma doesn't have to be toxic. It can be a very healing space, and it very much looks like someone is asking for you to hold that space for them. It feels like they may not be able to communicate it, but they just want you to sit there with them in that I know you know, I know you know, I know, and hold that space. To have that understanding of I know what you're going through, I know it fucking sucks, and give your light and your love and your healing and your medicine, whatever that is for you, and show up, whether this is for your person in your partnership, a friend, someone that's a client or community member, like even your own children. Like being able to hold that space, and it's a beautiful thing, although it can be very heavy. But what you're being presented with is an opportunity to step out of your own pain and to give it purpose. That's my thing. We take pain and we turn it into power. So what I like to say is the pain that you are experiencing is some way connected to your purpose. What you go through has a bigger rhyme and reason in the greater scheme of things. And if you can be curious about what that is and how you're being called, find that spaces of righteous indignation. Find that fire and that anger, because that anger will lead you to your passion, into how you're being called to step forward and help others. Not of emotions. From whatever the situation is and however you're being called forward, whatever emotions you're being asked to sit in, even in those complex and chaotic spaces, ironically enough, it is going to bring about a sense of emotional fulfillment, emotional satisfaction, of being seen and heard and valued, and seeing the greater order of things. And you're going to be able to sit it in a very strong and powerful way where it's no longer disempowering. You won't be in that self-victimization anymore. And that was something I was laying about, trying so hard to fall asleep last night. It was so hard. I was in and out of so many energetic spaces. It was a rough night. And that was the thing I kept hearing, was like that self-victimization. It's like, how do I get out of this? Because this is no longer a place I desire to be. Like, I want this to be a thing of the past. I want to move forward. I want to let it go. Like, and sometimes it just has to be a choice. Sometimes it has to be like, okay, I've had enough of this. And I saw a post about that recently, and especially with feminine energy, is like, until you've had enough of it, you're gonna stay. Until you actually hit that I'm fucking done point, you're gonna repeat the same lesson, because your soul wants you to learn something. That's why I always say, if you can go into something asking, what am I learning, it makes the process so much simpler. But it's not always that clear cut. Sometimes our soul really, really does want that experience, and having that, stepping out into that spiritual perspective, like I said at the beginning, and seeing things through that spiritual lens can make the process just a smidget easier. I hear you, don't worry about it. Yeah, I hear you. That one's from him. Don't you think I don't know? I'm hearing something about solidarity. I don't know what that means. What about solidarity? You know, this would be easy if you just come and did your job. Awakening. So it's seeing the interconnectedness of this, of the human experience, of the soul's experience, because it's all part of your awakening experience. It's part of not only your awakening as a soul, it's part of the collective's awakening, of rising and ascending into a higher vibration, right? Because the more we are aware of our own shit, the more that we take action to correct it, the higher we all rise above, right? Again, like I'm gonna say, individual, partnerships, family, community, the universe. That ripple effect has a purpose. It creates an impact outside of yourself. You may not see it, but that energy has to go somewhere. So don't discount your role in everything. Knight of Voices. So there's going to be a need for you to kind of fight for the clarity during this period, to really step up into this kind of Emperor energy, again with this sun coming through here. Tap into that more masculine side to give form to the feminine's intuition through this kind of murky period. That those energies very much do have to work together in order to find harmony. I'm seeing this as like sheet music, and I've been getting a lot of channels about like piano music, and I've had a lot of visions in the past about this, specifically with my divine masculine playing piano in very specific instances. So there's something there with like harmony and melody and being able to speak, maybe singing or using music to communicate rather than your own words may be a way for you to kind of get through. That's something I used to do so much when I was younger, was, you know, we'd send songs back and forth to communicate those things, because sometimes it was just easier. And I have like 20 playlists made up. So, I mean, music is very much a thing for me, and I channel so much music. So if you need to use something else in between to step powerfully into your voice and communicate those things that you need to communicate, don't be afraid to rely on those other means of communication. it also provides healing when you do that. Songs hold meaning not just in their words, but in their vibrational resonance. And if you have vinyl, I very much highly suggest putting on vinyl, because vinyl is a beautiful vibration. Literally etched into the vinyl are the sound waves. And that's why I think millennials in their healing journey have been drawn more back to vinyl, and I've spoken about that in the past. But like, don't discount the space that music and its vibration holds. If you want to put on like just resonance music, do that. I do that while I'm sleeping, and I can tell you it's made a big difference in being able to move through things on a subconscious level. So tap into those different tools that you have, because a lot of tools available to help you and others heal, to speak your truth, to step into this awakening. Guidance or advice? Hierophant. Be clear about where your commitments and priorities lie, because this is a time where that clarity and that swift action and that dedication within yourself, that solidness, that solidarity, that masculine energy is going to be needed. That container is going to be, it's being called to stand up and step forward, to hold the space for the feminine to be able to move and serve in the gifts. Both energies are being called forward heavily to hold space and to work their magic in their own domains and together in a unified thing. If you've gone through this introspective phase where you've sat with it, it's time to take that illumination and bring it back out. And to really, and this was something I was told, like boots to the ground, that dedication, that soul's calling, purpose, passion, those commitments are needed at this time for whatever is coming forward, and for however you're being asked to hold space for people in your life. The last thing we need to know, wow, 2 of materials and 8 of materials. This is bringing in balance, harmony into your life through this sense of all the hard work that you've put into it. It's coming to this space of an equal give and take, because if we, like I heard 6 of Pentacles, which if we minus 2 from 8 is 6, it's that same energy. It's that reciprocation. It's the working together in this. It's the having a singular focus and end goal, and holding that space for each other, bringing the bigger energy, being all in with whatever you have, 80, 20, 70, 30, 100, like whatever that is, really being able to stand firm in that and to step forward and use your voice and step into that calling from that space of personal awareness and self-actualization and like all of those things, because you've been through it for a purpose, and now it's time to bring all of that wisdom, that soul's growth, back out in service of others. That was a lot. That was heavy. Alright, I want to get one more card message. If I can. These are so hard to shuffle. Might have to just pick one. Nope. There it is. I don't know what to do. Someone's going to get hurt. That might be why they need your advice and energy and things like that. It's a hard space to, honor yourself and to not be worried about what the fallout is and to be okay with it and like all of those things. But there's no wrong when you choose yourself. I know it's hard when you're thinking about trying to spare other people their, hurt, but you actually do more damage in that process than if you were to just do what needs to be done and put yourself and your soul's path and things like that first, and to really hold by that. Believe you me, I'm in the middle of that one, so I get it. But when you honor yourself and you honor your soul and you honor your soul's purpose, and you let other people worry about themselves, and you don't try to micromanage other people's emotions, which is something I've really, really had to heal from. And actually, funny enough, the one thing that helped me with that was my twin flame said, fuck my emotions. And I said, okay, I don't know if I can do that, but I'm gonna try. But it gave me enough permission for me to heal those patterns from my past and how I was raised, and just who I can't get into that, but it helped me heal through that. So choose yourself and don't try to control or micromanage other people's responses. Hold fast in who you are, what you want, what you're going after, what you're called to do. Because when you do that, when you truly hold fast in who you are, there is going to be fallout. Choosing yourself is the hardest thing you will ever do. I'm not gonna lie, I'm telling it to you straight, it will be the hardest thing that you do. It will be a lot to navigate through, but the rewards and the alignment make up for it 1,000 times. If my life and my story are a testimony of anything, it is that. And I'm continuing to both sit through the grief of letting go of all of that, and the pain and the cycles, as well as simultaneously holding my arms open for these abundances that feel so big that I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna hold this, right? So just know that it's a process, and the more that you can allow yourself to be in it and go with it rather than fighting it, the much easier it becomes. Think of it as a riptide. You gotta let it take you, move parallel with it, and eventually you'll find out that you come out a lot stronger and wiser without expending all of that energy having fought it. Or like cows, they run towards the storm rather than away from it. So whatever you're going through, whatever you're being called to step up into, I'm holding that space for you, because I know what that journey is. I know what that process is. I know how big it is. I can feel you. I can feel it on my heart, and I'm sitting in it just as much as you are. So for however we're being called forward in our respective journeys, I truly believe that we have what it takes.